What's up, guys? This week I sit down with Ryan Alford, the CEO of Radical. They are a marketing company helping other companies grow with marketing at the speed of now. So if you've always wondered how videos go viral, well, Ryan has a story of how he helped, and he was a part of a video that has been seen over 500 million times. That's insane, a video that's been viewed over 500 million times. But Radical is much more than just a viral agency. He believes in marketing at the speed of now and producing quantity over quality, but still producing quality content and good work. Ryan has tons of experience in the industry. He's worked with big brands such as Verizon on the Can You Hear Me Now campaign, Budweiser, and other big brands. He's the dude to get some marketing advice from. So we talk about do's and don'ts of marketing, the number one thing that you should do as a company, and even if you aren't a company, even if you're just an individual, an accountant, why it's important for you to worry and to think about marketing and the consumer. So enjoy this interview with Ryan. It was a pleasure to stop by his workspace, his new workspace actually, Camaraderie in Greenville, South Carolina. So if you're looking for a new spot to work and you're sick of a coffee shop, you're sick of your couch or your desk at home, go check it out if you're in Greenville, of course, and if you need marketing, check out Radical. I hope you enjoy this interview and stay tuned for after, because we have a challenge inspired by Radical and by Ryan to really change your productivity and change your focus and to help get you out of a funk if you are in one. So enjoy the interview. Stay tuned after for the challenge. Let's go. Ryan Alford, what's up, my dude?
What's happening?
We are in the new space, Camaraderie, correct? That's how I say it. Not camaraderie.
Yeah, you can say it that way too. But yeah, Camaraderie is the name. We're here.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to be here. It's definitely like a rad. I didn't even mean to say that, but it's a rad spot, and I'm just happy you're letting me come in here, crash the party, interrupt the flow. So thanks for being here, my man.
Yeah.
Well, I guess thank me for being here, but thanks for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before, I just had an idea. Usually you start off these things with, tell me about yourself. I'm going to actually say, what's something that people wouldn't expect to know about you?
Wouldn't expect. Okay. Curveball right off the bat.
I told you, man, you better be ready.
I have one kidney. I was born with a cystic kidney.
Yeah.
And I was 2 days old. It scared the crap out of my parents because they had me in the ICU unit because they didn't know what was wrong with me. But I had one of my kidneys was just deformed and born unusable, but my body was trying to use it. So it threw off all my natural ways. But so I've lived my entire life with one kidney. And so there's your unknown fact. I don't know if that was like helped you anywhere in the personal development coaching aspect, but that's something very few people know. It stunted my growth.
I was going to say, no.
That's the inside joke because growing up, and I don't know if you've ever heard this, they say people with kidney issues growing up, it does stunt their growth.
I didn't know that.
So it can have something to do with like your development. But luckily, I had no such issues.
Yeah, how tall are you?
I'm right at 6'5".
Yeah,
with shoes on, I'm definitely 6'5". I think I'm, take the shoes off, I'm like 6'4.5", 6'4 3/4".
So this is, we're not getting into the development world space yet, but have you, because I know like you're a fit dude, and have you had any trouble building muscle being a tall person?
Yeah, I think in some ways, yes. I think especially when I was younger, in the teens, I had a hard time because I played basketball. And it was all cardio. I mean, running laps and doing stuff. And I think it was more that. Like, I didn't have the knowledge that I have now, and we didn't have smartphones and all this, fitness of readily available. This knowledge was just more available. There was no internet. So, my dad was a member at gym, and I would go to the gym and work out while also playing basketball all the time. And I couldn't really put on that much muscle, especially in my upper body. My legs have always been strong. That's more genetics, I think. But now that I know now, and once I got into my 20s, mid-20s to 30 and all that, learning more about fitness, having more access to knowledge and what to do, I actually can put on muscle. And I think if I had known some of those things, I probably could have done that earlier. But
yeah. Well, and for me, it's funny because I feel like the older I get, the easier it is to put on muscle, or I just feel like you start to get like a man's body or like a dad body, just like getting older, I feel like, yeah, like in my mid to late 20s, I'm still there. But like that's where, just with consistency in the gym, like doing nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Because people ask me, like, how do I get in shape? It's like consistency, man.
Yeah. It's definitely that. I've always been, I think it's in the Alford blood, because I remember growing up and my dad ran like 5 miles probably 3 or 4 times a week. And, this was when, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying gyms and working out hasn't been popular for a long time, and I'm not dating myself here, but like late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't an Anytime Fitness on every corner or, like whatever. There just wasn't that readily. But my parents were always physically active. My dad would, I'd always thought it was crazy to put on his jogging and stuff and go off for a run and be gone for 30, 40 minutes or whatever, run 5 miles. And he did that 3. So I always had that kind of in my life. And then my sister and I have always had the workout bug. Like we've definitely had fluctuations in our weight. I've definitely had the freshman 15 where you're eating way more than no matter what. But I've always been motivated to work out. And I think it might just be a genetics thing in our blood, because my dad was the same way. My mom's kind of the same way. My sister's like as anal as I am. She's 10 times more anal. It's like,
I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to be like having the blood. So tell me about marketing at the speed of now. What does that mean?
That's an interesting question. That's kind of the tagline for Radical.
Which is Radical is your marketing company.
Yep.
Which you own.
Yep. And, we're an 18-month-old company. I've been in the ad agency business my entire career, almost 20 years. And so working for a lot of other people, working for big brands, started Radical 18 months ago with the premise of marketing at the speed of now. And it's an interesting tagline because I think, and I haven't done any focus groups, it's about the beauty and the curse of myself. I kind of go on instinct a lot. I wrote that down when I was thinking about what we wanted to be as an agency and what I thought was relevant, would resonate and differentiate us. And this notion of speed is important, but I think when you hear that, you immediately think, I guess they do everything fast.
Yep.
Yes, we do. That is one of our pillars, actually one of our core values, and that is that we believe that success loves speed. And so we do things fast, but we do a lot of content development. And my thought process is now with smartphones, the ability and the number of platforms to message on, that you would be better to be getting content that is really good out there quickly so you can read and react to consumer. Obviously, you want it to be on brand, and you don't want it to be, literally walking in this meeting, made me 15 minutes late to us getting started, sending an email to a client that, we sent her some content over, and, she's doing what she should do. She's evaluating that. And she's like, well, we really like this one video, but these 3 or 4, we just don't like them as much as we like the other. They were on brand. They were animated. They were nice looking videos. They all were. And I think the client would say that too. But they had a subjectivity around a one style. And
so there are 4 different styles.
4 different styles, and she liked one the best. The other 3 were fine. They were not off brand. And my point back to her was, we need more volume of content out there more quickly so that we're touching more people, and let's let the market evaluate that, and let's see if what you're saying is right or wrong. Again, we're not promoting being fast to rush into doing off-brand or stuff that we aren't comfortable with or that don't represent the company well, but we do operate quickly, and I think we produce, honestly, like knowing the industry, being in it nationally, for the size of agency that we are, for the number of people that we're working with, in comparison to other regional agencies, no one is developing the amount and the quality of content at the speed that we are.
So what are your thoughts on quality versus quantity?
I think it depends. So I think based on our whole premise is built on more of the quantity side of it. We probably produce 250 videos a month.
That's crazy, bro. And for how many clients?
10 to 15.
Woo.
And so these aren't.
Yeah,
these aren't 5-second like ugly
they're high quality
smartphone.
stuff.
It's high quality,
Yeah.
And so. But here's where I would stop and say this, because we had this conversation. My creative director Mike, we worked together a long time, worked on a lot of big brands, and we had this discussion a lot. Back to the speed thing, marketing speed of now. We want to do a lot of content really well, really fast, so that we can get it out to the market to respond. Kind of like the Oreos moment in the Super Bowl. I believe in being able to respond quickly with video, with high quality content, and to let the market guide us versus our own subjectivity. However, when we're working on the brand anthem for a large to medium business, that needs to tell an emotional story, and we really need to make sure it is on brand, on strategy, we need to take our time with that in the right way. And brands need to, and we're not going to be rushed to, especially evergreen type things that are going to stick around for a long time.
Like a centerpiece to their portfolio.
Yeah. We're not going to rush that out. Now, will our process always be faster, great quality, even for those type pieces? Yes. Instead of 3 months, like maybe at another agency or a big agency that's really trying to, grind it out, and they're trying to do great content and it's going to be beautiful. Ours might be 4 or 6 weeks, instead of 3 months.
Yeah. Has marketing at the speed of now ever not worked out for you? Like, have you gone too fast?
I think the answer would be yes. We're 18 months old, and I've done this a long time, but it doesn't mean I know everything, and most certainly. And there are moments where I look back on some things and go, that might not have been the best foot forward that I would have wanted in that moment. But you know what? At the same time that I say that and reflect on that, there would have been no foot forward if I had, or the client and I had deliberated on it forever. Because, so was it, you can get real self-critical moving quickly, because you go, all right, well, why did we do that? What were we thinking? Especially, one of our most known clients, Dr. C. Rich Constantine, I won't call him that. He is not the dancing dentist. He's like the furthest thing. He's a dentist that can dance.
And honestly, so I met him at Core 24, the gym.
Yeah.
I just introduced myself.
Yeah.
And dude, that guy is just genuine. Holy cow. Just like the nicest
You ever
person.
met a nicer guy?
No, I was like, whoa.
Nothing like you expect.
Yeah.
But there were some things with him because his stuff was moving so fast. We went viral with that first video. We really wanted to keep the audience.
How many views did it get?
That video has been seen worldwide over 500 million times.
Jeez, dude. 500 million times.
And 0 paid. 0.
You didn't pay for any ads. That's what that means.
No ads. Not a single advertisement was run. 0.
Okay.
All organic, all driven by the original viral video on Facebook. And then with the gasoline that we poured on with PR, with getting news releases, getting the name out there, spreading it more, going on the largest TV station in the Middle East, their morning television show, all via Skype, going on Good Morning America, going Inside Edition. I reached out to contacts at ABC News. So we poured gas on an already growing fire, but it became, went from, a garage fire to a full-on...
like that. This might be too soon.
Yeah, 4 alarm.
Amazon fire. I don't know.
Yeah,
it might be too soon. Yeah, probably.
Yes, probably.
Hopefully,
I didn't
save our
say that.
rainforest.
I stayed away from that. I was starting to go towards like a California wildfire. I'm like, geez, people. That's just not the right way to go. But I think you get the analogy. But yeah, and so over 500 million views. There was times when I look back at some of the things that we did for him, some follow-up content because we were keeping the flame going. I mean, what people don't realize, they all remember that first video. We did like 7 or 8 dance videos after that that all got over 20 million views.
That's crazy,
that even stand alone. Like, what's funny is you get invited on Ellen if you get over 1 million views on one video. We had 7 videos with over 20 million views. I mean, like,
that's crazy. So he posted one by himself that started to go viral. Is that what happened? And then it started going crazy, so he contacted you?
No, we were working together already.
Oh, from the beginning.
Yeah, I'd given him like his tripod, and like we were talking about stuff.
Nice.
His girls at work told him about the video about the dance challenge and knew he could dance and told him to do it. And I managed his Facebook page.
And was this Drake's? Is that what
Drake's In My Feelings?
Yes.
And so I managed his page and have all his his admin on all his accounts and everything like that. So we were already working together. But I had been encouraging. I was like, dude, you're a good-looking guy. You got a great personality. You got to be out in front of the camera more. But his girls told him to do the video. He used I think he used the tripod that I had given him. He set it up, and then he sent me a message, or my phone starts dinging anyway because of all the likes and stuff that started coming in, and he sent me a message. I think I want to say, and he was debating even taking it down at one time because he was just I think he was embarrassed because he's just a shy guy. It's genuine. And I'm like, dude, do you know what's happening? I was like, I'm coming to your office. I was like, no, you're coming. Get Trish. You're coming to my house. Trish and his wife and him were over at my house that night till late. And I was just like, dude, we're game planning. So we were game planning from there. How to really. I mean, it was going viral on its own. But really, that's when I started calling media contacts from my days in New York, and
because
we just poured gas.
I'm sure the plan for him was not to have it seen millions of times, but maybe thousands of times in his market. Is that what his expectation was?
It was totally like, hey, it's a dance challenge. I'm trying to open up. Ryan's encouraging me to be on camera more. My people had already been challenged, telling me I needed to do more. And it was a random thing, and he's a good dancer, and so it was just the meeting of all of those things. And then, you can't plan for that. I have clients now, oh, he want to go viral. I'm like, I've never marketed that. We are not the viral agency.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's back to, if we swing enough times at bat, more content, more volume, the chances of that happening, maybe not 500 million views, but are more likely.
Yeah, that's been my experience with more content and letting the audience decide. On my platform, just releasing, of course I always think it's good, but then they don't always think it's good, or maybe not the best or better, and so it's cool just to kind of go through that process and learn. Just I'm not putting stuff to what they like necessarily, but what do they find useful or beneficial? What do they want to help them in my arena? Not just hey, let me just make everything you want. It's okay, how can it resonate with you? And then how can I make it in a way that hits you?
That's right.
And it's been cool. Definitely producing more content has got me in a practice that also produces quality. Yeah. So doing more quantity has helped me get more quality content.
And somewhat related, if anything, and we meet as a team at least every other week. I mean, we're together all the time. We're in a very collaborative workspace. We use the benefits of our co-work space as our team here collaboratively. So I feel like we're always together, but we get at least in the meeting room once every couple weeks. And I just have been hammering this is we've gone the other direction. We've slowed down because we've let the I'm so proud of my content bug catch us. What do I mean by that? Well, when Radical first started, there's a time and a place for the perfect DSLR slow motion shot that's beautiful. And there's a time and a place where, for our video people holding up my smartphone, I shot when it was me and a couple other people when Radical first started with a few clients. We did a lot of smartphone stuff, and it worked just as well for the right types of things. Again, not the brand anthem videos, but for the fast, quick content, micro content type things. And we've slipped a little bit in because I look at our volumes and everything like that. We're still killing a lot of other agencies and a lot of other the brands that are working with us are doing a lot more video content than others. But we've gotten a little bit too. And look, I'm very proud of our work. I'm very proud of our quality. I think if you go look at our pages, you produce really nice stuff. But we've let ego and a taste for quality in our own minds slip into everything and not just those pieces like I discussed that need to be that way. And so I've challenged my team. We're actually going and getting a little more nimbler and doing a little bit more, run and shoot type things like we were doing in the beginning, and then finding those moments. So you can kind of, and that's all back to, and I struggle with this because I used to do more videos of myself, like stories, and I'll blame getting busy. I also blame my own. It's not like I can turn it on, but I'm actually more of an introvert data nerd. Like, I sit with my digital media team the most because I like love the data and like dig into that stuff. And I can sit at my desk all day, kind of like run reports, testing some ad combos and do things. Like, I nerd out on that stuff. I can flip the on-camera guy switch. I do have that ability, but it's not my natural thing either, and I just don't naturally get in front of my story camera all day. And I, even though I know that I should, and I teach and I tell my clients that they need to be doing it. But it's funny how, we can kind of, I don't know, get in our own, it's not even that I get in my own head. I just have gotten to like, we're busy, we're doing other things, and I selfishly am not doing it as much as I want to be doing it.
Okay, well, I'll ask in a couple of weeks how are the stories. We can start with a story today.
Perfect.
So what's something, if someone is saying, hey, I don't want video content, or I don't care about social media, what marketing tip could you give that person? Let's just say, well, I have some ideas. Like, what are your tips for someone who's just like, I don't care about videos, I don't care about social media. Why does marketing matter to me?
Here's why. You started down a path, and I had a good answer.
Okay, no, start there. Bit. Start with the first answer.
Like, first tip, own your customer. What do I mean by that? So, in this day and age, you need to own the relationship with your customers, your clients, whether that's big or small. What do I mean by that? Emails, phone numbers, first and last names. There's a lot of companies that we start working with, and I'm not talking about so you can data breach them. I'm just saying so that you can communicate with them. They're your customer, whether that's email, whether that's calling them. But if you're a small, business where you only have 7 clients, it's about having their phone number and their email to directly one-to-one communicate with them, not talking about spam. But there's a lot of companies that we work with that don't really own their customer data, and they don't take advantage of that relationship and nurturing it in contextual ways. Like, okay, I work with you with this service. You would naturally be interested in that service, and I would be. So I'm an accountant, but I'll also do X and Y that are relate to that. Are you having that communication with them? And, I'll use the word upsell, cross-sell, but in a contextual way, not a spammy way.
Yep.
And so if you don't want to do social media and you don't want to do videos, then do email marketing or one-to-one text marketing. But again, own your customer data, nurture them, take care of them through communication. And that is marketing at its core in a lot of ways, especially customer-based marketing. And I think that's one avenue. Everyone in business thinks about prospecting. How do I get more customers?
Yep.
How do I get more? How do I get more? But if you will nurture your existing customers, number one, they'll stay with you. Number two, they will refer you. And number three, they'll help grow you. And so that is like tip numero uno. And it has nothing to do with content.
Just really treating, like you said, own your customer, but like really like building that relationship with your current customer. I like that. So you mentioned an accountant. So they're probably not going to be running, social media ads, but how can their career, why does marketing matter to their career of just day to day or trying to get a promotion or do better at their job?
I will say this, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a doctor, whether it's an accountant, some of those tried and true services, and everyone kind of thinks that same thing. And I even thought it at one point, but now, and it took maybe running my own agency and doing what I've done the last 18 months. Think about this. If an accountant even if he's a numbers guy, but would do stories and would do content on social media, educating and making it interesting. And if he can't be that, then hire an agency, and you don't have to pay them tens of thousands of dollars. They're small business agency, radical, that will do this affordably, and do interesting content as an accountant. Hello. Who wouldn't want to be doing business with that accountant? They could break down the walls of what the heck is going on in this balance sheet.
And it's boring.
And the numbers aren't that interesting, and it takes some strategies and some working out what that is, but that code can be cracked for anyone. And I'd be running Facebook ads and doing that if an accountant came to me and said, look, I see what you're doing. We want to be radical. Like, an accountant could be radical, a lawyer could be radical. We've tried to work with a couple of them, and they couldn't get out of their own way, but there are legal challenges in finance and in law, but being a human and showing humanity and not being looked at as a commodity or, in the lawyer sense, some negative connotations, there's ways to do social with that as well.
So you mentioned like someone getting in their way with your clients. If you can say, what's one pet peeve that's like, oh man, like if you would just do this, you would see like exponential engagement or business or whatever?
We don't, that's kind of like sometimes the assumption like that agencies have working with clients. If they just do we know everything and they know nothing about marketing or whatever. I never enter into a relationship with a client or a business and pretend that I know everything, because there's nuances to business. Even if it's e-commerce, there's nuances to sports supplements versus beauty and healthcare and those kind of things. There's nuances, and so I don't step into it pretending to have all the answers and like, well, if you just listen to everything that we said. But I do find that the general pitfalls are around ego of how we've always done things, and an inability to try and test something for long enough to truly know if it could work. And kind of that example I gave before, well, we like this one, and these three look okay, but they're not as cool as that one. That is not a scientific way with which to expand and grow your business. And so it's hard to get solopreneurs, like individual entrepreneurs that are real set in their ways. I had a meeting with one a couple weeks ago, super badass guy, like just super knowledgeable and knows his stuff, but he's kind of been sitting at this one point. Makes a pretty good living, but he's never cracked the code
for the next level.
He's never scaled. And we sat in the room and gave him 2 hours worth of great advice, and he won't do any of it. And it's not because he took it to heart. He knew everything that we were saying was right, or good tips or good thoughts or good things that he should try. But then it came back to, but I just did this on the website and I really like it. Focus group of one. The worst way to judge anything. And that doesn't mean you don't go on your gut. Like we're all like, I do a lot on my gut. I said that at the beginning, and like, guided by your gut. But like, if you really want to grow and you really want to scale, you've got to push past the solopreneur or the focus group of one mentality. And that's harder than people. It's not easy, but you gotta.
Well, because we always think we're right.
We do. It's funny.
Like I always think I'm right, and then luckily I think I'm pretty open-minded. That sometimes I'm like, oh, okay. Like I try something and it's like, oh, it's working. So how did you did you stumble into marketing, or how did you first come upon it?
I was a marketing major at Clemson.
Okay, so how did you know that you wanted to do it?
The honest truth is I think like I grew like my family. I grew up with a lot of my parents were entrepreneurs growing up. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. I definitely felt like I had like that business slant, and I always felt like I had that creative side to me. I wasn't like an artist growing up. I didn't draw or anything like that, but I think I kind of had a creative brain, and so I think those things combined. And I think my girlfriend at the time was going into marketing, and so it all came together. But there was there was both art and science in that decision. The science of what the former of what I said, and the art of the latter.
That's funny,
so full transparency there.
The full transparency,
and then it worked out. And then that same girlfriend who I was actually no longer with. There's some irony in this.
Yeah.
She was working at an ad agency. We were still friends, and she gave me a really good referral, so don't ever burn your bridges. And and so 2 months out of Clemson, went to work for Irwin Penland, EP & Co. now, here in Greenville, their largest agency in the state. And so started there in 2001.
Look, don't burn your bridges. That's smart. So I like to say, let's pimp yourself out a little bit. Can you name like the campaigns and the companies you've worked with?
Yeah.
We won't be humble. Let's go.
Let's go. We a little backstory that gets you there. Irwin Penland's largest clients, and the one I was hired to work on, was Verizon. It was a small Southeast, not small. I mean, it was a $3 million piece of business, annual retainer, which is for an agency EP side, that's a large piece of business. When I started there, it was Southeast. We managed retail advertising for all their stores in the Southeast. They have a ton of communication stores. Had a lot more then. A lot of it's gone to e-commerce, but back then there was, Verizon stores on every corner and agent stores and all that. And we did all of the marketing, almost store support for the Southeast stores.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of stores. And so we had that piece of business. We also kind of managed everything for those stores, customer-based communication. So any customers that went to those stores specifically, Verizon thinks about their customers more nationally now. But the regional communication, if you walk into the store, the graphics you see, the ads you see in the newspaper, ran a ton of newspaper ads and radio. That was my first job, was like trafficking like when newspapers was like everything. Like we'd have to, in every people don't know this, but every newspaper had a different size and different ad sizes. So you'd have this 8x5 ad that you'd create and get the client to approve, but then you'd have 300 in one market newspapers. You'd have to shrink it a little bit, make it a little bit. And the variables within that ad, you don't have some of the softwares that you have now that automate like some of these things. It was just very graphic design driven. You shrink it down. Sometimes you might have to remove an element. If it's a big, busy ad, you might take something out, and you got to get that approved, and you got to proof the legal. Oh, this was a glamorous job. Let me just tell you, when I first got it. Proofing all those ads, getting them out. Same thing with radio. We'd have different radio reads, different disclaimers, depending on the state and the city. They have different disclaimers that you need, like legal. So I did that starting out. And not so glamorous first year, but I made a lot of relationships with Verizon, made a lot of good contacts. I was promoted 5 times in like 4 years.
Dang, dude, there you go.
And so I was good relationship, but I was also really aggressive internally at EP with like, give me more. Like if someone would leave that was above me, even if I had the job for a month, I want their job. I will do their job. And my boss at the time, Alan Bosworth, he always gave me an opportunity. He said, until you fail. And I don't think I ever let him down. I wasn't perfect and I didn't get everything right, but I knew how to step into a role, take on direct reports, but I had relationships with Verizon. And so that led to national opportunities, building those relationships with me and other people on my team. It certainly was not a me show. We had a great team. Like guys that are still even over there. Chief Growth Officer Jeff Hoffman and I Alan, my boss, he played air cover. I think we just Curtis Rose, Catherine Sloan, who's now Catherine Schaefer, but we had a really great core team that really grew our relationships. And we kind of did the same thing, started doing the same thing, me stepping into roles we didn't even belong in. We were in, meetings at Verizon that this little agency in South Carolina probably didn't really belong in, but we'd go, we can do that. They talk about something they need to get done. We can do that. Could we do it? Had we ever done it? No. But could we figure out how to do it? Yes. And so we became that scrappy agency, and we took a $3 million to $45 million over 12 years.
Wow.
We worked on everything from Can You Hear Me Now to the Apple iPhone launch, which came onto Verizon. We really shepherded them in. All the stuff with the NFL, all the original content with Drew Brees, the training ground, which was a big traveling tour of going to all the NFL cities when Verizon and NFL Mobile first got their deal. The Droid, which was, when the iPhone first came out, you had the Droid that came in, the first Android phone. We were involved in all of those campaign developments with the, we had the campaign, I can't do this, I can't do that. That was Droid's first foray playing against the iPhone. So we worked on all of those things. And so Verizon was kind of the bread and butter. But then while that was going on, got involved with, I helped open the New York office for EP. They
weren't there before?
They weren't in New York. So we opened the New York office. I lived in New York for 4 years, kept a place here. It was kind of back and forth, but lived in New York. And worked on, got pulled into other meetings, some Budweiser stuff for Hill Holiday. It's actually a large agency in Boston that owns EP.
Okay.
And so it's actually part of a big IPG conglomerate. I won't get into all of the, I guess I did a little bit there, but the ad world and how it revolves, it's all very incestuous. But nonetheless, worked on a number of campaigns for them, Firehouse Subs, all of their original marketing and campaigns. Denny's, everything with Denny's.
Crazy, man. Like, I'm sure. Is there anything that sticks out from your head of like what you've learned from all of those big campaigns?
Yes, there is. There's like a serious side, and then there's a not so serious.
Let's hear both. I love it.
I'll start non-serious. The not serious was kind of back to the premise of like Radical Now, which is like, technology and the ability, like video was always put on this pedestal. It costs like even 5 or 7 years ago to get a really nice, even at the lowest level, nice 60-second, 2-minute brand video. You're gonna spend $10,000.
Isn't that insane?
Like 5-7 years ago, like at the low level, in a big agency, you're gonna spend $150,000 to $500,000 for that same type of content. And 15 years ago, it was unheard of. I sat on $1 million budget, 30-second commercial spots. That was all it was. Can You Hear Me Now spots with, not every one of them, because we started to templatize some of that, but some of like the NFL stuff and other. We're just getting a 30-second commercial that's going to go on all these TV stations.
$1 million to produce. Like charge them $1 million.
Yes. And now it was a cost with all of the resources that were there. It wasn't like the agency was making 40% margin on that. It wasn't, it was, but so what have I learned? Like that has been really interesting, and that's not even driven by the campaigns, but just by the budgets. The money spent even on marketing then and now is so ridiculous at the large brand level.
Well, and some people, I think, especially younger people, and even myself, I'm naive to how lucky we are.
Yeah.
Like social media is free.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't. I don't care if you get 10 likes. It's free.
Yeah.
Like you can make a viral video for free. Like we take it for granted. And because we don't remember those days of, man, you had to pay like $10,000 for what you can make in your home with your phone in a few hours.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
It is cool. So that is such a shift, and that is related to not necessarily the campaigns themselves, but just the size of the client and the changing of the technology and stuff like that. On the more serious note, what hasn't changed, and Mike and I talk about this a lot, and it matters for smaller business too, but it definitely matters for medium to larger brands that have to really live their brand, at a bigger scale. The big idea in creativity is the ultimate differentiator. And so what do I mean by that? Really great strategy built on insight into a consumer mindset fuels great creativity and ideas. For example, can you hear me now? That came out of a really great insight, which is at the time in 2000, it was we never stopped working for you for a while. That was Verizon's tagline. Then it changed to can you hear me now, which was never really a tagline. It was just more the statement. We never stopped working for you was really more the tagline, more empowering. But can you hear me now is so simple, but it came out of this premise at the time. Verizon has the best network. People hated drop calls. All the other networks, they all had drop calls, but Verizon was the best. And it came out of just that simple insight of consumers don't want to deal with drop calls, and what could make them relate to that in a way that brings that emotion and that thought back up to them. And everybody knows when you say, and even you, I can't stop saying it now. Even to this day, it's less of a challenge because luckily we don't have as many drop calls and we text and do a lot of things besides talking. This other day, I catch myself saying, I'm like, it's still in the vernacular. You'll say when someone you can't get through, can you hear me now? But that was really based on that insight of and it's so simple. And even to this day now, and just do it, just other things, that was an empowering statement, but it was built on a consumer insight at the time. That has not changed. And the great differentiator from one brand to the other is still creativity backed by sound strategy.
That's cool. And because I know before you started Radical, what was the other business that you were?
I owned a dealership. I drive on demand, custom order cars. Carvana, what Carvana's doing now? Yeah, we were doing it in 2012.
That's crazy. So you're definitely like the entrepreneur, and you've moved up in companies. What made you decide that, okay, I'm going to start doing stuff on my own now?
I get asked that a lot, either on podcasts or just in part. And I think I am definitely, there's the entrepreneurship in my blood. I think I'm reasonably good at it. I don't have it all figured out, but I could totally work for someone else. Again, I am not, a lot of people assume like an entrepreneur, you can't work for anyone. Yeah. You're so no, I have no problem working for anyone else. Both of my situations have been more, leaving EP, not really having a job there. If I wanted to come back here and needing to get back to Greenville went through a divorce, and my kids were here. I wasn't going to stay in New York. I wanted to be with them, and I wanted to be back here anyway. I'd had my fill in New York. Love New York, but it's a tough place to live, especially if you have kids and family and all that. It was more out of just necessity. I had the idea with the car thing with a partner that was already doing it, so I kind of franchised his idea a little bit. And it was just I'm going to try this. And it was a good time in my life in a transition period. It wasn't, I'm quitting and I'm going to go do it for myself. I'm going to, fist to the man. It wasn't, it's never been that for me. It was just more the opportunity at the time. It was okay, I want to do this. I guess I got to start it myself. Had the funding to do it and did it. It didn't pan out. It didn't do wonderfully, combined with I didn't want to be a car dealer or salesperson dealing with, there's just stuff that came with it that I just didn't think I was going to have to deal with, that I did have to deal with. Didn't want to do that the rest of my life. I was a better marketer than a car operator. Yeah. And went to work for someone else in between as the chief marketing officer in another agency. And, the vibe and the culture didn't line up for what I wanted to do and be more than, I can't wait to get my own business started again necessarily. I always had a thought in my process if I stayed in the ad agency business that I might start my own agency. But if for some reason there had been another EP size agency in Greenville that needed someone at my senior level, I might would have just gone over there for a few more years. I might would have eventually started Radical, but it might not have been. There's not like this, and if I think it's going to work out. It's been so good so far, but if things didn't work out again, I really don't mind working for someone else, but I enjoy it. And now that I've had a taste of it, it's a little bit hard to go back because you kind of do set your own schedule, and it's not because I get to play golf every day. It's not. I'm not there yet. I don't know that I'll ever want to be there, but it's. I think it's definitely in the Alford blood. I think I'm not scared of it. A lot of people don't become entrepreneurs just because they're scared of it. I'm responsible for my own check. I'm like really responsible, like not just clocking in, like that doesn't scare me. Like I'm not intimidated by that. Doesn't mean I don't worry about it or think about it or, have all of our moments of doubt and all that. No, of course I do, but it's never been a paralyzing that's probably more the inside of me than anything is for good, bad, or indifferent, and I was not a wild child or like some crazy person that's always, I'm not that person, but I've just never been paralyzed by decision in anything in life. I'm not I don't live my life that way. And that is, I don't think that is you can train that. I'm not saying you can't get there. I'm not saying you can't be coached and mentored and all that. You can improve. But that's just been a gene inside
But you just
of me.
weren't, so you're saying you're not afraid just to pull the trigger to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I've never been.
Because you're not afraid of, if it works out, awesome. If it doesn't, I can just do something else.
Yes. There's something in my head that's probably both crazy and wonderful at the same time. Terrible, wonderful, and crazy at the same time. That I've just never been paralyzed by indecision. Yeah, do I think about things sometimes? Do I rattle around like anyone? Of course. It's not because, well, I'm just going to go jump off this bridge, or no, it's not like that's what I'm saying. It wasn't like I was some crazy wild child that was, but I've just never been paralyzed in making those choices.
No, I think that's a huge strength. Let's slightly almost 180. What is the role that self-development, well, first let me preface this. So I first met you, I moved to Greenville about 7 months ago, and my 4th day here, I went to GVL Hustle, which is a networking event that you put on, and I remember meeting you there. And so you are definitely, it is business, but there's a lot of motivation and self-development there. So what role does self-development play in your life?
I think that we all can have continual growth, and you're never done. It's kind of back to that. There's certain premises in certain things about myself. They're not paralyzed by growth or whatever, but I believe in. You're never stuck in a certain mindset or certain thing, and I had been getting to a place the last 4 to 5 years where. Reading books and doing podcasts and learning about those things where I felt like I wanted to be a part of sharing that same mentality, while also that disconnect. And I think we've talked about this in some of the GVille hustles, like Tyler and I both being in Greenville, but I was in New York for a while. I have family and kids. I didn't feel connected to the community, even though I'm from Greenville, born and raised, and been successful and done things, but I didn't feel connected. So I think it was the path of those two things. One, wanting to help Greenville and wanting to share, and at least not just because I knew it all, but at least provide a place where those things, that growth can happen, combined with wanting to be more connected to the community. And so it was the intersection of those two things. And that's where, I've taken more to heart, the personal growth side. We all go through challenges and changes. I've been through divorce. I've seen the worst of myself. I've seen the best of myself. But I think I've always known there's a delta of opportunity to grow at all times. And, how do I manifest that?
Yeah. What's your advice to someone who is in the worst, like they're seeing the worst side of themselves right now and they're just stuck there? Like they're just lost in this place of, I don't like who I am. What do they do to get out?
There's two sides to that. There's one part that I get uncomfortable talking about, like the mental health side. There's like this fine line there. And that's even doing what we do, like that was always like in the back of my head, like this fine line of being a mental health professional and being personal growth.
Yeah. It's a fine line sometimes.
It is. And so I try to leave the mental health side to the professionals.
Yeah, that's good.
But on the personal side, it's so interesting, like thinking about like some of my like worst moments personally or professionally. There's like a certain time where you just have to look in the mirror and say, this too will pass. But you have to just make a plan and go do it. There has to be action. Like the pity party everyone, I've had them. I've had banners, I've had streamers, I've had airplanes flying by at my pity parties. Like literally, hot air balloons.
That's awesome.
Like I invited clowns over for my pity parties. Like, we can all have them. And so it's not about go get off your tail and go make it happen. That's not what I'm saying. But but at a certain point, you have to decide A to B to C, and I'm at A, and here's these are where decide where you want to get to. Like, don't even worry about the map yet. Let's just decide we're going to Idaho. But you got to decide you're going to Idaho. Like, decide that I'm going to be, okay, I failed as a lawyer, but I'm going to be a financial advisor, whatever. And get there and start taking steps to do it. Map out the plan, write it down, create a journal, write down your goals, and go do it. And action, all that assumes that you've got the mental health side taken care of, because that's where I don't pretend to give advice or know if there's something chemically or that's just such a hard space. 'Cause sometimes that can be the there's been challenges and pitfalls, things that happen, but if there's a mental health challenge there, that needs to get figured out before you'll ever get to where you're going. So it's a delicate balance there. But assuming that part's worked out and this is just the pity party, banners, streamers, clowns.
Yeah, dude, I think that's really good advice, because I feel like the pity party, we just get stuck there.
Yeah.
And you can't see direction. You don't know where to go. You can't even see, I heard one quote, this cheesy quote, but I still like it, about a GPS doesn't give you 5 steps ahead. It just tells you the next turn.
Yeah.
Just what's that next turn? What's point A? Just go to A.
Yeah.
Go to Idaho.
Yeah.
And then from there you can decide where to go.
I'll give you a quick story.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, first year at Clemson, I think the first semester I had a 0.9 GPA.
No way.
First semester, it was
0.9?
or 1.9. It wasn't 0.9.
I was gonna
1.9.
Well,
it was a
possible?
0.9. Yeah, no, 1.9.
Okay.
1.9 GPA. Second semester, I think it was 1.98. It was just no better. My parents ripped me out of school. And so I took a year off, and I knew I needed it too. I had no direction. I was just partying, having a good time, somewhat going to class, but I had no idea what I was trying to get done. I was just there at school. I was a marketing major, but and so I went and worked at a place called Stakeout.
Yeah.
Steak delivery. And I, went and delivered steaks. And I, made good money, considering I was a 19-year-old, driving my Honda around, delivering steaks. The tips were pretty good. And went and did that. Like Dad's like, you're going to go get a job. And I'm like, all right. Drive around my car and make some pretty good tips. Like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Went and worked there. Worked there for like 3 months or a couple months. And they pulled me into the store. They're like, this guy's not the average maybe stakeout employee. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Became
the manager of the stakeout like within like 5 months.
Wow.
Is like a 19-year-old. Mm-hmm. This is the pride and joy here. But was making like $40,000 a year.
What?
I'm like,
that's not that bad.
That bad as a 19. I think I might have turned 20 in the middle of that. And so like, but I had to make a conscious decision. I got to go back. I'm not going to work. But I had to give up $40,000. Like as a 19, 20-year-old, never had really any money. I was like, oh, I don't know how to just keep doing that. But I knew and gave that up. But the point was, I was in a real pity party before deciding, okay, I don't have it figured out yet, but step one might be going and being a barista at the coffee house while you figure out what you want to do with your life. Or what? Because if you don't want to be here, you're having a pity party because something didn't work out, go work at Stakeout for a little while and get your shit together.
Doesn't mean it's permanent.
Yeah. And figure out what you want to do with your life. But then map out the steps to get there, And maybe you'll figure out, hey, I want to be a barista and an artist, and that's going to make you happy. You decide what's going to make you happy. And then map it out to get there.
Yeah, I like it. What are your thoughts on, I'm really curious on your thoughts with this. The balance of like kind of trusting what will work out. I'm not sure if that you can call it fate or just trusting the universe versus creating and working for it. Like, what is your thesis on that?
State the question one more time. I want to make sure I'm getting it.
You're good. So like, what is your belief around how much do you have to work for something to make it happen versus, hey, that's just not meant to be, or that is meant to be, or trusting that everything's going to work out?
I have very like, on the scale of fate versus making it happen.
Here, there we go. I think I might rephrase that question.
All right. So like, like the balance of the scale, me personally, I'm 90% the make it happen guy and 10% fate. Back to that analogy, like promotions at EP, taking action towards things that I had no business like even asking for. I'm just like, go do it. Like I'll go figure it out. And sometimes it's kind of like back to the marketing at speed now. Like my whole life is like marketing at speed now. It's like sometimes a wait and see approach might have been better, but more times than not, the go make it happen has served me well. And I do believe in higher powers and like I believe in things are meant to be. I totally do believe that, but I believe that those things can be influenced by going and make it happen too.
Yeah, that's kind of like where I am. I'm like give it your all, go make it happen. If it doesn't happen, try again. If it doesn't happen, try something else.
Yeah,
it's like just keep trying. Yeah. You're gonna have to try. But yeah, why I asked that is just because I've been toying with this idea of like effort and then effortless. Just like, because sometimes when it's easy is when it really kind of clicks. Like a really good idea, instead of like trying to force this, man, like Verizon, how can we think of something to like make this blow up? But someone just, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
That's like easy.
It is. What's funny, like I had that conversation with a client too the other day. Like, we're coming up with like a tagline or a headline for something. It seems like sometimes the first one, the one you write on the board, it's like it comes quick, and it's like you come back to that one. I don't know what it is.
Well, and it's funny because I feel like you still need to go through the other options, so you appreciate that first one.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you can't. It's like, let's have a good idea, and this happens with me all the time. That the gut is usually the right answer, but I have to go in a cycle of seeing other possibilities, and I'm like, yep, my gut was the right choice.
Yep.
But with the speed of now, you trust your gut, baby, and then you're going.
That's right.
All right, dude. As we wind down, I have a segment that's called Scroll My Soul.
All right.
So what that means is I keep a running list of inspirational notes from conversations, podcasts, books, what have you. And I randomly scroll through. And so I picked one, I stop, and I just ask for your thoughts. What does it remind you of? How does it resonate with you?
Okay.
Cool?
Got it.
So what I have is, when you can't win by being better, win by being different. So what does when you can't win by being better, win by being different mean to you?
Interesting. That's cool. No, I like the I like the segment. I'm trying to like think of like we were having a similar discussion with like a client that's trying to like break into a field, like, and they don't have the dollars to play in the same sandbox, so to speak,
as the other competitors.
Competitor. And so in theory, better can be seem better when you have more dollars to talk more, get your message out more, reach in frequency, to give a media analogy, reach more people more times. So if you see the ad over and over and over again, there's a reason like certain things like, advertising actually works,
Well, even it's just subliminal messaging, dude. You don't even realize it. If you just see it over and over, there's this psychology, man.
Exactly. But sometimes you have to work harder and be scrappier, and I will actually say, and I'll use Radical as an analogy, good endpoint, right? Radical is built on the premise of being different and not better. It's back to the speed of now, which is we are swinging well above our belt line compared to agencies 4, 5, 10 times bigger than us that have better bank accounts or better resources, perceived better talent. But we find differentiation in speed, scrappiness, efficiency. And I think you have to work smarter, not necessarily harder. And it is harder because being different is hard. It's really hard.
Because it's easy just to fall into.
Like if I had 1 billion, that probably take more than that. If I was just going to create an absolute duplicate of Amazon, absolute duplicate, and I had the money to do it, it's just money. I mean, I'm not saying money's easy, but like you just create it.
I feel you.
But to create something different than Amazon, but equally as effective, is harder, smarter. Just takes more thinking. It does lead me to the premise of more time sometimes. As much as I hate to say that, but to be different, you have to be brave.
I like that, man. To be different, you have to be brave.
Yeah.
It's more fun, though.
It is.
Well, awesome, dude. Well, Ryan, thank you. If you're in Greenville, of course, come check out your co-working space, Camaraderie.
CamaraderieCowork.com. You can check it out online, and then we're right here on the Swamp Rabbit Trail, 25 Delano.
Boom. I love it. And yeah, it really is like an awesome trail. This is an awesome spot to be at. Do you have anything else on your heart or mind that you want to say? No. Marketing, life?
No. Follow me at Ryan Alford on Instagram. You can keep up with anything that I'm doing or the agency's doing or Camaraderie or GVL Hustle. And, I'm very accessible. I think you've seen that,
Yeah, I can attest.
Yeah, so if I can help in any way, I'm here.
Yeah, well, thank you, sir. For real, I appreciate you taking an hour out of your day.
My pleasure, buddy.
Adios.
See ya.
What's up, guys? I hope you enjoyed that interview with Ryan. This week's challenge is inspired by Ryan and by Radical. We want you to do one thing, just one thing, that's it, that's going to lead you towards your goal this week. It can be so easy to think about these massive mountains of tasks and get overwhelmed with all that you have to do because you see this mountain, but but you don't see the next step. So that's why we're encouraging you, we're challenging you this week to do just one thing every single day towards your goal. So don't get overwhelmed, just focus on one thing. And I keep saying one thing because that's all you have to do. And after you do one thing to push you, to lead you, just that one action step to lead you towards your goal, whether it's fitness, whether it's eating, whether it's at your job, whether it's with your partner, your marriage or a relationship, you can do one thing, just one important thing that's going to better that, that's going to further that relationship or toward that goal. So just do one thing this week. Every single day, just do one thing. Make sure you feel good about that one thing too once you do it. Like, feel proud of yourself. Feel accomplished. I had a friend tell me the other day that he had finished a big project at work, he ran a 5K, he recorded a podcast, and he still felt like it wasn't enough. Because we're always wanting to do more. But if you set out each morning, every single day, and you feel like, okay, this one thing's gonna help me level up, this one important thing is gonna push me that much farther towards my goal. And then feel good about it, feel accomplished. Then you can chill, then you can relax and feel accomplished and feel good. And we want to celebrate our wins. So once you do that one thing, feel good. Because if you do one thing every day, you get 365 things done a year. Versus if you set out for 10 things a week, you might get done 2, so 2 things a week versus 5 to 7 things, that's less than half as efficient. So it's incredibly more useful just to focus on one thing. It's much more manageable. It's easier for our minds to comprehend. I'm focusing on one thing to be productive instead of a big list. So that's what I encourage you to do. And once you complete it, make sure you hit us up. Tag me, tag Goalink Group, tag Ryan, tag Radical. We want to see what those one things are that you're accomplishing every day this week. So your challenge, do one thing, make a plan, start making progress, and let's get productive. Let's celebrate our wins. Let's go.